I am absurdly late to getting out my first impressions of this season, but hey, better late than ever is a thing that some people in the world say. Now, I'll do a spoiler free discussion of the first three episodes, and then I'll do a more spoilery breakdown of the third episode just because we can't be here all day for me to spoilery break down all three. Who do you think I am? Now, while I enjoyed Daredevil Born Again Season 1 for what it was, I can't really deny that it was a pretty massive step down from the Netflix series. Now, there is a reason for that. If you don't know, there was an original version of this show that was, for some reason, going to bring back Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, but recast all of the other side characters, and they were basically going to say that it wasn't a continuation of the Netflix show and that the Netflix Marvel shows in general aren't canon to the MCU. Really weird decision making, but they then decided that's dumb. Let's rework the show and make it a continuation of the Netflix iteration. And so that's where we get Daredevil Born Again Season 1. It is a weird Frankenstein's monster of a series that combines stuff that is clearly from the old iteration of the show and a bunch of new stuff that the new creative team came in. And it just didn't work nearly as well as it should have. I think the biggest problems with that first season are that a lot of the visuals and the action just did not feel anywhere near as good as the Netflix show. You have a lot of weird CGI Charlie Cox running across buildings. The side characters, massive step down. Like, I feel like Daredevil is really known for its super strong side characters, and you got Timu Wesley. You had little Gandolfini. Like, what are we doing here with these characters? And Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are still great in these roles, but the first season just could not give them the right vehicle for their stories to really shine as well as they usually did on Netflix. And I'm happy to say that season 2 so far, after the first 3 episodes, is a massive step up from season 1. Now, this is kind of controversial on Twitter, because, listen, on Twitter you get all these cinematography experts talking about lighting and stuff. Listen, I think the show looks really good. I think the suit especially shines in almost all the shots where they really want to show it off. Does it look exactly like, or does it look at all like the Netflix show? No, especially that first season that has that really wonderful, like neo-noir almost visual language to it. But this is its own visual style. Like, it's different, but I don't think it's bad per se. Are there shots that look bad? Yes, right? Like, you have those weird shots where like the lighting is like super overexposing everything. Like, yeah, you'll see people like cherry picking shots on Twitter like this where it's like, I don't really understand why the artificial light needs to be coming in as strongly as it is. But like, generally speaking, at least in my opinion, in motion, the show looks pretty good. The show is also doing a lot of legwork to make those really boring side characters from the first season be more interesting, right? Like, a good example is the girlfriend that Matt was dating, or the girl that Matt was dating. I could have just said Matt's girlfriend, but who wants to edit anything out of videos? Yeah, like, I'm not gonna lie and tell you that she's like the most compelling character in this season, but like, she's infinitely more compelling than she was in season 1, and they do a good enough of a job with these characters that I'm not like angry. I'm not like frustrated when we cut over to see what they're doing, like I was sometimes in the first season. And I think they're doing a good enough job so far that like by the end of the season, I might actually think that Heather is a good character. The show also introduces a pretty standout new side character in Matthew Lillard. I won't spoil exactly what his role is and what he's doing, but yeah, Matthew Lillard is awesome, and the way that the role that they've given him is surprisingly meaty, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens with it. But yeah, like, overall, just all of the characterizations this season is so much better than season 1. I also just think that the main plot is a lot more focused this season. Like, I don't think it's a spoiler to say because you could get this from the ending of the last season and even the trailers, I think, from for this season. But yeah, the plot of the series is that Mayor Fisk is waging war against the vigilantes of New York, and Daredevil and his group of friends that they hinted at in the last season, they are rising up to fight against that. It is a very easily and just immediately compelling hook for the good guy versus the bad guy. We can all get behind it. It's not like this really weird, convoluted series of events in the first season where I was like, is Muse kind of sucks, but then Kingpin is also here, and it was just not nearly as focused as this season. Now, an area that I think this show is just straight up fantastic, and that I will not take any slander of it, is in the action. I feel like they have really perfected how Daredevil action should be in the MCU because, when you watch the original Netflix show, it was like aggressively grounded. And then you get to She-Hulk and, he's doing like somersaults off of off of like parking garages or whatever. In this season specifically, I feel like he's definitely more acrobatic and he's doing more flippity skippities than he was in the Netflix show, but he's not so over the top like he was in She-Hulk. I feel like it is this perfect balance of, I could see this guy showing up in a Spider-Man movie one day, but I also feel that groundedness and that tension because of him just being a man, that I think that Netflix show was able to capture so well. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Like the action whenever it comes on, it's like, it's hype as frick. I think that just the choreography of it, I will say there's a oneer in one of the first 3 episodes. I guess I won't spoil which one, but there is one and it's pretty freaking cool. You know what? Actually, another thing that I will give this show props is in the score department. Like, there were multiple times during action where like the freaking score was hitting in ways that I actually don't remember. Even the Netflix show doing. Like, I don't know that I can't. Maybe I'm just forgetting, but I don't know that the Netflix show utilized score anywhere near as effectively as Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is utilizing it, to where there were a couple moments where that score was hitting and I was kind of getting chills. So I'll give it those props as well. But anyways, I kind of just want to get into a spoiler discussion for episode 3 specifically. In general, I recommend season 2. If you are hesitant after not loving or even straight up disliking season 1, you might want to wait for more episodes of the season to come out, because according to critics, it really starts getting good at like episode 4 through 8. So maybe you want to wait and see what the response is after that to see if the critics overhyped it. But I can definitely say that just with the first 3 episodes alone, massive improvement. And I can see what the critics are talking about, where it's like they've set up the story to where the next few episodes can really shine. So I would recommend giving it a shot, but I could also understand if people maybe want to wait a bit more. So let's get into a spoiler discussion of episode 3. Now, I will start off with a little bit of a negative. I really hope they don't pull an arrow. What do I mean when I say I hope they don't pull an arrow? At the end of episode 2, we see Karen beat up this ICE, AVTF agent. And I remember in Arrow where they establish that Arrow is a super cool, badass guy because he was like stranded on an island and he had to learn all these skills for survival. And then like as the show went on, it felt like all of the side characters just took some like 1 or 2 lessons with Oliver, and then they just all became vigilantes. I really hope they don't go too far with Karen being able to like fight people. And I'm not coming at this from a thing of like, a female could not overpower a male. Like, I'm not coming at it from that perspective, right? I'm obviously have no problem with like Elektra, for example, being able to fight men. Like, I don't care about that. It's just Karen is a normal person, and they just showed a couple scenes in the first couple episodes where it was like, oh, Matt's been training her. She's hitting the wooden dummy. I don't know if I really buy her taking out an AVTVF whatever agent. Now, to be fair, it could also be the case that the guy wasn't really fighting back as hard because he wanted to get to, work with Daredevils. They do kind of set that up. So that might also be the case of what happened here, but still, don't go too far with it. I don't want to see freaking one-shot fight sequences with Karen Page taking out a bunch of guys, okay? We also have Heather tripping balls and seeing Muse everywhere. She's so crazy at this point that she's like hanging up Muse's mask on her wall. This is one of those storylines where I'm like, okay, Heather is definitely more interesting in this season than she was in season 1. So you got to give it that. But before I can truly say whether I think this is like a good storyline, I have to wait and see where it ends up, where they take it, what they end up really trying to say with Heather tripping balls. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. And it just goes to say what I said in my non-spoiler section, where it's like, I'm not bored when they cut to side characters like Heather anymore, which I think is a massive improvement from season 1. It is interesting because this scene here where like Heather and Daredevil's lawyer friend, I don't remember her name, where like Daredevil's lawyer friend is like, how can you support Mayor Fisk? He's like obviously awful. You're doing like obviously corrupt things and yada, yada, yada. It does seem like kind of an absurd situation of like, how is it possible that like people are supporting Mayor Fisk and they're just like willingly going along with all of this? And it's like, this season is just inherently political, right? Even if it wasn't intentionally done so, it's like there's so much stuff in here that obviously mirrors ICE, that obviously mirrors the corruption, the Trump administration. And it's like, this interaction seems so ridiculous to me because it's like, yeah, obviously Mayor Fisk is bad, and it is weird that like Heather, for example, is just down to do all of this. But I also feel that way about real life. So can I really call it bad writing? It's like when you have a conversation with a Trump supporter and it's like, he's like at best protecting PDF files and at worst is one. But then they just like come up with whatever nonsense rationalization of like, well, what about trans people? And it's just like, you're undergoing religious psychosis. At least in the events, I don't know. I feel like a lot of conservatives are just like mind raped by like religion, where it's like, oh, my religion says that I hate gay people and trans people, so I'm going to overlook pedophilia. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. And so I guess all that's to say, I don't know that I can call that scene bad writing, frankly. Because, yeah, like obviously it's nonsense that Heather is like, Muse like tried to kill me and I was saved by Daredevil, but I guess I'm just gonna say this. You know what? This is actually an interesting thing as I'm thinking it through in my head. I guess Heather considers Muse to be a vigilante, right? I'm trying to remember exactly how season 1 played out, but was Muse like against Kingpin? I think he might have been. So that is interesting. That actually, if Heather considers Muse to be a vigilante, then she might not just trust vigilantes in general. You know what? I feel like the show hasn't done a great job of actually explaining to us that rationale, but thinking it through in real time right now, that actually would make a little bit of sense. I gotta say, Jack Duquesne, whatever the swordsman, he's awesome in this season so far. Like this scene here where he's being interviewed by Matt's lawyer friend. I should probably look up her name, but you know what? Who cares? Like he has like so many good like quotes too, where I forget what one of his quotes was, where he was like, oh man, I should probably try and look up exactly what I'm talking about.
Presented in all its ugly glory by the man whose hand holds the scale.
I'm just like so glad that they're finally giving this actor good material to work with. Charlie Cox is also in absurd shape this season. Like, I guess Marvel Studios gave him the horse steroids that they gave that they give Chris Hemsworth, because Jesus, he's never been in this kind of shape throughout the course of the show. At least I don't think. But the actual important thing from that scene is I really like the conflict that they're setting up between Karen and Matt this season, where it seems like Karen is ever so slightly moving towards the direction of Punisher, where she just like doesn't believe in the system, and she's thinks that and then she does it by the end of the episode. She resorts to killing, whereas Matt he has to find hope in the system, right? He has to believe in his faith in Catholicism, and yeah, like that conflict I think is going to be really interesting. They're also doing a decent job with making Timu Wesley kind of interesting. Like, they're setting up a relationship with Heather. They've kind of been doing this thing this season where he's not as brutal as the AVTF agents. He seems like a little bit more of a layered character this season. Again, as with the Heather Muse thing, we kind of just have to wait and see where they go with it to see if I truly end up being connected with these characters. But again, I'm not bored when I'm watching him trying to riz Heather up. We also have the Oner that I was alluding to earlier on, and I think that this is a great Oner. It's especially poignant kind of when I was talking about getting chills with the score, because this is of course a scene where Matt is not only just having a cool action scene, but he is sort of living up to finally wearing the double D's, sort of what gets sets up in the first episode where he's trying to make Daredevil a symbol against Fisk's fascism or whatever. Like him freeing it being a Oner, him freeing all the people in the cages, the score coming in really great times. Like, this is a fantastic Oner. I gotta say, I think it's totally fair to have criticisms of the media that you watch, and if I think it's fair to critique the action of the show, some of the cinematography. I just think for me personally, I don't really connect with the endless like nitpicks of this season, the endless comparisons to the first season. I saw people on Twitter being like, "Oh man, the cuts are so obvious," and it's like, you guys do know that the Oners in seasons 1 and 2 were not actual Oners, and you could tell where they cut. It's like, I don't know. I do just not. I don't really connect with a lot of the overt negativity I see surrounding the show. I did in season 1, but I don't with season 2. I feel like at this point, the show is good enough that I just enjoy it. I'm not enjoying it just because, just have fun and enjoy things. I think it's genuinely good enough at this point that I just have no real interest in just endlessly comparing it to season 1 and talking about how much worse it is. Because in a lot of ways, with a lot of the choices in action, the way that it shoots its action, when a lot of the choices in the cinematography, yes, it's not like season 1, but it's doing its own thing, which I enjoy. Now we also get reintroduced in this episode to little baby White Tiger. Or is she the White Kitten? Who knows? And again, this just goes back to that Arrow comparison where it's like, I really hope they don't make this character like just a full-on vigilante in this season. Listen, if they want to, like, I actually think they used her appropriately in this episode, right? Where she put on the amulet and she was able to scurry around like a little kitten, and she was stealing AVTVF agents like radios. She was like slashing tires. It's like, I feel like that is believable and that's perfectly reasonable. It, kind of speaks to one of the themes of this season, where it's like, hey, you can, rise up and fight fascism or whatever in your own way. Like, we all need to stand up and fight and whatnot. Like, her presence in this episode actually did a really good job of showcasing that. Not right, she didn't just turn into a vigilante immediately, and I hope they don't in this season. Like, she will at some point, I assume, become the White Tiger, but I think that they should wait at least until next season, establish that she's been training with Matt, let her grow up a little bit, frankly, because she still looks like a baby, even though she's probably like 19 or 20. But yeah, again, the same with Karen. I'm suspicious. And again, it's not a woman thing. It's just a believability within the rules of the world that the show itself is set up. I would feel the same if all of a sudden Foggy, before he died, started beating people up. But we, of course, have to wait and see how they handle it. But yeah, man, overall, I really enjoyed these first 3 episodes. According to critics that have seen all of the episodes, these first 3 are slow. And if these first 3 are slow and I thoroughly enjoyed them, I'm trying to not get too hyped for the rest of the season. But we'll see. I will say one thing that I anticipate being a little bit of a nitpick is just the fact that, considering the storyline of this season, which is Mayor Fisk going to war with the vigilantes of New York City, there are going to be so many characters that probably aren't going to show up, and that it's going to feel weird. Like, Spider-Man should be involved in this somehow. He won't be. I understand that, but he should be. Although, maybe? I'm just saying, considering the fact that Punisher, who is a Netflix show character, is in Spider-Man Brand New Day, considering in that movie he's literally fighting the Hand, maybe Tom Holland does make a little bit of an appearance here. I'm at least kind of at this point expecting Daredevil to show up in Spider-Man Brand New Day. If he doesn't, that's going to be a little absurd, because I feel like I've been patient and I've been understanding as a Daredevil fan, wanting to see him cross over with Spider-Man. I've been like, yeah, I get it. I get why you wouldn't do it. But now they're doing so much other stuff with like Punisher and the Hand. I'm like, if you don't have Daredevil team up with Spider-Man, that's just not okay. But yeah, like, Spider-Man's probably not going to show up in the show. At the very least, I think Luke Cage and Iron Fist should show up, even though we know they're confirmed for season 3, but they should show up for this storyline specifically. So yeah, all of this being said, I enjoyed the first 3 episodes. I'm excited for more. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.